Hey guys, this video is to teach you how to add Freon or refrigerant back into your sealed fridge unit. I'm recording this the next day. I basically did all the stuff you're going to see last night. And when I came down here this morning and I opened up my fridge, it's getting cold, and it wasn't before, so that means whatever I did worked. I'm just going to take you guys along with me. I'm going to show you the steps that I did to add Freon back into my fridge. In my case, my fridge is a Whirlpool, got a great deal on it, mint condition, not a speck of dust on it. I went through, I Googled all the regular stuff that could be wrong with fridges. Everything that I've learned about fridge and refrigeration, I've pretty much taught myself within the past few days. And based on my research and my limited knowledge, with different tools like multimeters, I tested my startup relay. I saw that my compressor was working, and if you're watching this video, maybe you've already done the research and you've kind of eliminated all those main things that could be preventing your fridge from getting cold. You can find tons of results on Google that'll tell you the top 5 reasons your fridge might not be getting cold. They're usually a compressor not starting, a fan not working, dust on your coils, or ice in your ice box or in your fridge. So if you've done all that stuff like I did, and you're now at a point where you're thinking, I really don't want to throw out my fridge, maybe it's a refrigeration thing, maybe you're intimidated by refrigeration, there's high pressure gas or something, like me, I had no idea what it was, how the thing worked, but I taught myself, and I'm a true do-it-yourselfer. I did this last night by myself with things I bought on Amazon 3 days ago, delivered to my doorstep. I'm going to show you the little pieces and parts that I use for my fridge, my Whirlpool fridge, and hopefully I can take you along with me and maybe get your fridge working by the end of the day. Now, my first thing you gotta do is open up your fridge. There's a sticker on the inside. It's gonna tell you what kind of refrigerant you have in your fridge. In my case, it's R134A. So I bought this. It's kind of hard to find in Canada, refrigerant. It actually had to come, I had to buy it with this. So I got 2 cans of this and one of these, and it was $30. I'll put the link in the description. That was the right replacement stuff for me. Now this is a puncture valve, needle valve. I don't know, people call it different stuff. This is a clamp, basically, that goes on the suction line of your fridge. And this is gonna allow you to add refrigerant into your sealed system. It basically has a little needle inside there that once you clamp it on the pipe and you screw that needle into the pipe, it'll actually puncture into your sealed system, and it's gonna allow you to put your Freon in here to add more Freon into your system. Okay, so I'll put the links in the description, like I said, for this. This is not this is the one that came with the Freon. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's for a car AC. This is the one that I used. Now, I'm gonna have to film this in a bit different way, because all the videos I watched said that this is reversed, but basically your gauge here is going to be at 0 equilibrium, right? When you attach this, when we get all these parts hooked up to our fridge, and I put this on the suction line, everybody was saying online that this is going to pull into a negative. It's going to pull past 0, okay? And if it pulls past 0 into a negative, then you know that you need to add more refrigerant to your system. Well, in my case, I hooked everything up and I couldn't figure it out because it was reading 20, okay? And I'm thinking, okay, people are saying if it's in the negative, then you had to add more to get it to 2. But if it's at 20, did I put it on the wrong line? What the heck's going on? Like, it's the suction line. Shouldn't it be in a negative or close to 0? Like, I don't get it. But while I had everything hooked up, I thought, you know what? This fridge is not working anyway. I was sure it was the refrigerant. And I see a little blue window here on my gauge. Blue might mean cold. So I actually Googled it while I was behind my fridge and had everything hooked up. And I said, what should the suction line pressure be on a Whirlpool fridge or a household refrigerator? Well, the results came back. Google said 25 to 55, which is exactly in the blue range. So I said, you know what? I can't break it already any more than it already is. So I just added some refrigerant into that fridge until I hit kind of middle of this blue range here. I'm telling you, as soon as I did that, the air that was blowing inside my fridge went from room temperature to cold immediately. And I left it overnight. I have a thermometer in there. It's exactly in the perfect range. So yeah, here, we're gonna get into it. Let's just go over everything we need here. We're gonna have this puncture valve I just showed you guys. When you pull this off, this is gonna screw on to here temporarily, which is going to allow you to hook up your gauge. This is a quick connect, like an air hose, okay? You're gonna have your can of refrigerant. I have mine screwed on, but I haven't punctured it yet. It's just screwed on. And this is something I forgot to mention last night. Gloves, especially when you're starting to release the Freon into the system. If your hands get close to it, if you have a little leak or something like that, it's very cold. It can give you frostbite. So you definitely want to have these handy and ready for when you crack the Freon. And guys, before I show you, I just want to show you how nice this fridge is. Like $300. It's literally worth $2,000. It is mint condition. I pulled every piece off. There's not a speck of dust on the thing. It's actually sad that it doesn't work. I'm really hoping that this is going to work. First here, I'm going to go in the trusty toolbox and get a socket driver. And on my fridge, it is I know you can't see it, but it's a 1/4-inch driver. That's going to be all the tools we're going to need for now. Always make sure that your cat's here helping you out. We're going to take all these 1/4-inch drive screws off the back, and we're going to pull this piece of cardboard right off the back here. Okay guys, my other cat's helping us out now. We've got the back of the fridge off. We've got it unplugged for safety so your cat doesn't get electrocuted. And remember, we're going to be putting this on the suction line. So in my case, on my compressor, it actually is indicated here, suction. If you can see that, suction right there. So we're going to actually make sure to put this gauge on the suction side. Hopefully I got you set up here so you can see very well what I'm doing. You're going to pick a spot to put this puncture valve that's easily accessible, and it's not going to get in the way because it's going to stay on there. It can't get in the way when you put the cover back on. I'm just using some 400 grit sandpaper that I had laying around just to clean up the pipe before I put this puncturing valve on. Okay, so you're gonna unscrew the puncturing valve so it's not, or the piercing valve I should say, so it's not past this washer, or it's not gonna pierce. So what we want to do is we want to put this on the pipe with it back, so when we clamp it on here, it's just gonna be tight, but it's not gonna be punctured. Yeah, that's gonna have to be it. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that is it. So I'm gonna finish putting this on and I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so I got the valve installed. I tightened these screws up pretty tight. I didn't crank them on, but it's so tight that there's no wiggle room here at all, and that gas gets pressed up on that hose very tightly. So the next thing is, this came with my kit, and it has a little gasket in there. So we're gonna screw this on so we can put our gauge on here. Just like that. Next step, we're gonna put this end of the gauge onto our thing. Now, I screwed this on to here, but I backed this out all the way before I did that, so the piercing needle was not down. It's counterclockwise all the way, so it's up. And then, okay, now that we have our can hooked up, our gauge hooked up, we're hooked up here. We're going to now screw this down and pierce into the sealed system. Okay, it's all the way in, so I'm going to assume that the line is pierced. This is one step that a lot of people miss. What you're going to do is back off this from the can, so it's not a complete sealed connection. And then we're going to crack this here Now what that's going to do is it's going to force the refrigerant through this hose here and out this crack here, and it's going to purge the line, because right now, if you can imagine, this is just air in here. So if we add refrigerant to the system, if I turn this on and push this, it's going to force air into this sealed system, which is a contaminant, which can shorten the life of your compressor or just mess up your system altogether. So I'm going to try to set up the phone here so you can see what I'm doing. But like I said, I'm going to loosen it here. I'm going to crack it a little bit until I see or hear refrigerant come out of here. And then as soon as I do, I'm just going to tighten this can up, and then I'll be ready to start adding gas back into the system. Okay, so I've got this loose. So I can now release this. We're going to push the refrigerant through this line and purge the air out, and it's going to start hissing here. And then I'm going to have to tighten this can up really quick before too much gas gets out. So I'm going to loosen this. This is the first time I've ever done this. Oh, I can hear it. I can hear it leaking. And I've got it tightened up. So that means that there's no more, hopefully, no more refrigerant in that line. Or no more air, I should say. So before you pierce your can, you're just going to want to crank that needle valve back closed after you've purged it. Okay, so now what I can do is I can twist this valve, and I'm going to pierce the can of refrigerant. So your can's pierced. You're going to see your needle jump up a little bit. That's temporarily when your can is being pierced and before it's sealed and screwed in all the way. Your needle may jump up, and that's just the pressure of the can. That's totally fine. Now, once that happens and you've got this screwed in all the way, now we can open up this side again to introduce the pressure of the system into the gauge. This is going to be closed. This is going to be open now. This might change again because you're introducing the pressure of the system. And then once that's done, we can get on to the next step, which is plugging it in and allowing the compressor to start. And I'm going to show you that now. Now, apparently when we plug it in, the fridge is going to go through a cycle before the compressor starts up. So, got everything hooked up here. Got it on the suction line. Fridge is plugged in. We're showing 80 here. Hopefully, once the compressor starts up, we're going to see a drop. What we're seeing now is the can dropping down from the 80 to about 20 once the compressor started. Based on my research, that is low. The blue zone that you see there is where you want to be. So what you do is you put your gloves on, you turn the can upside down, and you crack it in bursts. You open it up maybe for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and then you close the valve on the can again. And then you let that needle settle where it's going to settle. And you don't want to introduce too much Freon into the system, just enough. So you crack it open, close it, see where the needle settles. And once it settles somewhere around 40, that's going to be your sweet spot. So remember your gloves, guys. I couldn't show it all on camera because I had gloves on and I was shuffling a whole bunch of things at the same time. But what I was saying about the can being upside down, once I was ready to charge the system, I turned the can upside down like this. I was watching my gauge that was sitting around 20 that you guys just saw. I cracked it open and for 3 to 5 seconds and then closed it. The gauge temporarily jumps up and then it settles hopefully higher than what it was before. So in my case, it jumped up, and then when I closed the valve, it settled around 25. I was adding about 5 psi per burst. And you want to do multiple short bursts to be sure to not overcharge your system. So you just want to do a couple short bursts, add 3 pounds, add 5 pounds, until your needle settles somewhere in the 40 range, in the middle of your blue. My compressor sounded a little off, and as soon as I started adding this Freon to it, I could hear it running smoother immediately. It liked it. It was not running optimally. It was starved for gas. I knew that right away when I started charging it, that it needed gas. It sounded much better right away. Now once I was comfortable with my needle sitting at 40, the fridge was sounding good, I was ready to seal the system back off. So what the first step to do was to take this Allen key and close my needle valve back. So I screwed it clockwise in, and that sealed the system. Now the system is charged up to the proper PSI, and it's sealed off from your CAN unit. Now with your gloves on, you want to pull this off, okay? And remember, there's going to be, even though your can's closed, there's going to be some pressure in this line. So put your gloves on, and when you pull this off, it's going to spray just like you're pulling an air compressor hose off it. Don't be scared. Don't be startled. It scared the crap out of me because nobody told me that. So I pull this up. Psh, you see a little bit of Freon come out. Make sure to have your gloves on. It actually froze my gloves. If I would have been barehanded, it probably would have gave me mild frostbite or something because it froze my glove up pretty good. So I pulled that off like that. Like I said, the can was already closed, so I didn't have to worry about this leaking anywhere. And then at that point, I was able to just take this off here, which was your connection for the gauge and the Freon. And then I took the original cap and screwed that on nice and tight, just in case. That's your second line of defense. If your needle valve were to be allowing some gas to leak out, you're going to put this cap on, screw it on nice and tight, and that'll keep your system sealed and also give you an access point for, I know it's not good, but if it's leaking again, you can always pull this off in a year, 2 years, whatever, and check your pressures. Maybe you need to charge it up again. So that is it. My fridge now is running. It's been running for approximately 14 hours since I charged it. I'm going to show you. It looks like now. This is a Whirlpool all fridge. Beautiful. Like I said, I had a look at every part of it when I bought it. No dust, no dirt. It's awesome, but it was actually warmer than the air before. And now it's sitting at right in the safe zone there on my thermometer. It's kind of, oh yeah, there we go. Just on, it's 40 Fahrenheit, which is about 5 Celsius. And it's only on the middle setting. I've tried to put it on the colder setting, and it actually goes to 0, which is a little too cold for what I want. But worked totally fine. I don't know how long it's going to last for. I'm hoping it's going to last for a long time. But I hope I helped somebody out there. And oh, there it goes again. Sounds great. Anyway, have a good one, guys.